have 12 seconds to go. Huh? Is that correct?
Yeah, but I'm still waiting for the opening titles. I'm not sure. But
2, 1, and it's open.
So we started it already, but I'm not sure if we are in live coverage. Anyway, good evening, dear cycling fans. I'm not sure if you can see us, but we are into the group ride with 2010 Tour de France winner Andy Schleck. So I'm really pleased to welcome him aboard right now with us. So Andy, good evening too.
Good evening, everybody.
My name is Tomáš Jílek and I'm Czech TV cycling commentator. And I must say that every year a professional highlight for me is by far commentating Tour de France stages. So I'm really thrilled that this year you will be you will have possibility to taste a little bit Tour de France by L'Etape Czech Republic, which will take place in 73 days on June 11th in Prague and around its western outskirts. And if I'm right, Andy, you will be there and you will ride some parts of that route with the fans.
Yes, I'll be there. I'll probably arrive a couple of days before, so I can properly prepare for the route. There'll be some media event in forehand as well. Then some meet and greet, but of course the highlight will be the race on June 11th.
And today we have kind of, test of a small segment from the first half of the long route, which will be 137 kilometers. Last year, there were almost 2,000 cycling enthusiasts who took part in the first edition of L'Etape Czech Republic. So this will be the second time running in June. And hopefully we won't have to change the date as was the last year because of the COVID pandemonium. So I hope that this year everything will be okay and it will take place on June 11th in Prague and around its western outskirts. So Andy, for the beginning, what's your personal experiences with virtual racing, with these kind of group rides or even virtual races?
Well, I do believe it got the future. We see even like more and more events and real racing virtual like this one. And I did a couple in the past and was always a big success. I think it brings people together. Definitely during the pandemic, it was not really possible to ride in big rooms together. Today it is, but I think the community of people riding virtually grew enormously the last 2 years.
And I must warn you a little bit that today's segment isn't flat. It's a little bit, I won't say mountainous, but it's hilly. There are some sections with 9% gradients, really short. So it won't be easy ride for everybody, but I must stress that this is not a race. It's a group ride, just you don't have to test yourself to the limits. That's what I'm saying to our fans that join us today and ride with Andy on that road. And we have fans from all over the world. There is more than 150 cycling fans that join us today. So we thank them very much. And I also thank Andy on behalf of the whole organizing committee of L'Etape Czech Republic that he joined us today. And we can talk with him throughout the almost 29 kilometers long route. Andy, I'm not sure if you ever raced in Czech Republic. I'm not sure if you raced as a junior, for example, Course de la Paix.
Unfortunately, I never had the chance to participate in that race. And actually, no, I never rode in Czech Republic before, but hey, this is my first time now online, virtual, riding to the roads of Czech Republic. But I'll be there in June and explore the country on bike.
Yeah, but probably some fans would be surprised that when you were only 16 years old, you started in Cyclocross Junior World Championships in Zolder in 2002.
Yes, but this was not my really start. Yeah. I mean, I rode before, but this was, of course, a highlight. For the World Championship, I participated there. Cyclocross wasn't my biggest strength at the time, but still I made it to the Worlds, and that was a really cool event. It was the first time where I participated on the World Championship.
Yeah, and I can remind fans that Junior World Championships were won by Kevin Powles, and third place goes to Zdeněk Štybar, Czech rider and the most successful cyclocross rider from our country of all time. Fans were able to see some of your highlights, some of your best results in your career. Of course, winning Tour de France, being second 2 times, winning the oldest monument, La Doyenne, Liège-Bastogne-Liège in 2009, and also finishing second in Giro in 2007. And back at that time, you weren't even 22 years old. So you were in the probably same position and as, for example, nowadays Tadej Pogačar, who was able to gain really big results very young. Did you feel at that time a big pressure of expectations because you were so young and you finished second in such a big race as Giro d'Italia?
No, I think it was more the other way around, because
yeah,
I was still young. If I failed, it was accepted because I was young, and that was always the best excuse. Luckily, I succeeded quite young. As you said, the Giro d'Italia, then Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Liège-Wallonne, where I also had good results and some victories. But the pressure was always there, because once you win and what you return, you want to win again. And in cycling, there's no good or bad day. There's either a winning day or there's a losing day. So, and there's only one in the peloton can win the race. So, yeah, that was me when I achieved and I won. I was really happy. So then the next race, okay, people want me to win, but it was of course not always possible.
So you have great results very young, and you also quit your career very young.
Yeah, I had to stop due to a knee injury. Where I had several operations on my knee, and then unfortunately I stopped a little bit too early. I had a few years left on my shoulder, which I wanted to do, but unfortunately it didn't happen. On the other way, everything happened for a reason, so I'm here today, healthy, happy, and enjoying my ride.
Do you already feel on the trainer right now that the terrain for today, right, isn't totally flat? Do you feel that there are some, ascents, there are some descents, it's a little bit hilly?
Sorry, I was just talking to my colleague here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting really hot in here because we're not going.
You don't want to be overheated. Yeah, that's the biggest danger of.
So I asked my colleague
racing.
now just to put on the fan here.
Yeah,
so that's better.
That's important.
No, I mean, I think in general it is. It's only cycling, huh? So also a little bit of the beauty of it to ride the bike is that you fight with your own. You never fight with the others. It's always you, your bike, competing against others, yes, but you're not fighting against others. So that's a little bit the beauty of riding a bike.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that today fans from all over the world join us in this group ride. So I'm not sure what's the weather in your countries, but for example, here in Prague, it's pouring rain from the morning. So I think it's ideal conditions to stay indoor, get on your trainer, and join us for today's group ride with 2010 Tour de France winner Andy Schleck. We'll be back after the short commercial break, and we will be talking with Andy about
Jejich cesta začala jako každá jiná. Stačilo však jediné odbočení a vše dostalo rychlý spád. Nabrali nečekaný směr a obyčejnou jízdu změnili na dobrodružství plné vzrušujících okamžiků. Nezapomenutelný příběh, na který budou vzpomínat všichni. Nová Škoda Karoq. Vaše cesta k příběhům. Vůz, který byl stvořen pro vás a vaši rodinu. Nová plně elektrická Škoda Enyaq iV. Nová plně elektrická Škoda Enyaq Coupé RS iV.
So we are back with L'Etape Czech Republic Group Ride with Andy Schleck, 2010 Tour de France winner, and we are testing a small segment of the first half of the second edition of L'Etape Czech Republic, which will be raced in 73 days on June 11th in Prague and around its western outskirts. So we already talked with Andy about the different topics. Andy, do you believe that the virtual racing could be a way how to attract small kids to the real cycling?
Well, I think I mean, you got a lot in common with real cycling virtually. Nevertheless, let's not forget what is the beauty of cycling is being outside, being in the nature, exercising, socializing, commuting, exploring. These are all things you can't really do virtually because you do have people next to you, behind you, in front of you, but you don't see them in the eyes, and you can't, as of now, not really talk to them. So I believe it's a great tool for winter months to stay fit, to get the challenge. In order to do so, it will never replace real riding outside. That's a different world. To attract kids, I think first you start riding outside, and then if you want to do it virtually, you should go and do your exercise at your workout. Have fun virtually, but I do believe the real rider goes out in the wild.
So in what part of today's route are you already now? Do you ascending or descending? Do you feel on your trainer the difficulties of today's route?
Yeah, for now it was more or less flat, I believe. But we're going up a small climb here. Yeah. 1.4% of gradients. I can feel it in my legs and my lungs. It shouldn't be too bad. The next few kilometers look like they go a little bit, maybe a little bit steeper. On the same hand, yeah, I'm here to enjoy it. I don't have a lot of experience on Czech roads, but I think I will enjoy it because as what I see of now, it looks really similar to where I live in Luxembourg, up and down, same kind of road. So I'm definitely looking forward to come and see. And I hope when I join in June, the real event, that the sun will be out like now it is virtually.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we have today more than 250 fans from all over the world who join us for today group ride with the 2010 Tour de France winner Andy Schleck. So overall, today route is almost 29 kilometers long. Total elevation is 362 meters. And Andy, I can warn you that the steepest hill will be 3 kilometers from the finish, and it will be more than 9%, but it will be really short, steep climb in the final kilometers of today's route. So we are virtually riding in Czech Republic on Czech roads. And Andy, one of your biggest rival in your debut Tour de France was Czech rider Roman Kreuziger. He finished second in the fight for Maillot Blanc, for the best rider under 25 years. He was also one of your rivals, for example, in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, where he missed podium narrowly in 2011. What's your memories of this rider and your rivalry when you were both quite young in your debut Tour de France?
Yeah, in cycling, before you become a rival, you become friends. This is what I have with Roman. If I see him back, it's like seeing, even I don't see him for a year or 2 or 3, if I see him back, yeah, the first thing goes to my head that he was not my rival. Yeah, he was a friend of mine. So going back to 2008, I was going to the last time trial with a quite good advantage on the white jersey on Roman, who was behind me. I knew that Roman on paper was a better time trialist than me. So there he had a slight advantage. On the other hand, I was not willing to give up that jersey. And actually managed quite well to the time trial to keep it to Paris. On the other hand, I really regret that we never rode in the same team. He came to the team, so Frank Tikov when I left for Leopard. But again, I saw him last year back. He looks healthy. I wish him all the best for the future. And I think Roman was a big rider. If you look into the international palmarès he had, I do believe he had a lot of bad luck as well in his career, but that's part of the job. You gotta accept it and cope with it. But he was there for a long time. And again, going back to 2008, there was of course a healthy rivalry, but we were never like fighting it out on the road. The yellow jersey came naturally on the end of the tour as Roman's second place for the young jersey competition. The Tour de France is all about one color, and that's yellow, and the white is an option. If you can get it, it's good. If not, you try another year.
Yeah. And I can remind that the second rival for you back at that time was a rider who would become a really huge star of cycling, Vincenzo Nibali, who was teammate of Roman Kreuziger back then in Liquigas team, and you beat them all in the first Tour de France.
Yeah, actually, Vincenzo had a kind of a good start into his career. Got stuck on the level. Was he in the wrong team? Didn't? Was he just maybe a late developer? I don't know. Vincenzo started becoming a very good rider, or let's say this A+ rider in 2014. 13, 14, so quite late in his career. Maybe he needed time to figure out which team he was. Maybe he trained well and not well enough. So we have the same age, Vincenzo and me. Our kids are born the same year, the same date, his daughter and my first son. And was definitely really happy to see him that strong and dominating the peloton, winning 3 Grand Tours. Is an awesome career. I'm really happy that he made his way up, and the results showed that he is a big champion. And yeah, still riding well or good, not on the same level than he used to be, but there's an exciting year ahead, so I wish him all the best as well.
Yeah, and when we were talking about Roman Kreuziger, I can remind our fans, but I guess they know it, that immediately after last year, he quit his career, he stepped into the team car, and now he's a sport director in Bahrain Victorious team. And you also, after your career, stayed with the cycling. You have cycling shop, you're running a women's cycling team. So are these things that keep you still inside the sport you love?
Yes, I mean, when I stopped, I needed time to reflect on myself, because when you stop a career, at least for my experience, it is not easy. Huh? It is, if you have it, for example, in a normal life, a job where you sacrifice for 15 years everything into, you sacrifice your freedom, you sacrifice family, you sacrifice joy, you sacrifice good food, everything what comes to it. You only concentrate on one goal, and that's riding your bike as fast as you can. If you stop a career like that from one day to another, and it's not your decision because the decision was taken from me by my injury, it's just, you start a new life and you start a hard journey. So I needed some time to reflect on that. After a couple of months, yeah, I realized that I need to find a job. because I'm young. I earned okay money during my career, but definitely not enough to survive the rest of my life with it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna want to stay into cycling. I don't want to be in the team straight away. And I started with a bike shop, a small shop in Luxembourg, because that's what I know. I learned a lot about leadership and guiding a team on the bike. And I tried to do that with my staff on a daily basis in the shop. The shop grew. I started doing more activities left and right. I'm Skoda brand ambassador for the 5th year now, joining Skoda in the Tour de France, hosting their VIP program, doing their PR as a cycling Skoda cycling ambassador. I started helping Tour of Luxembourg in 2016 to develop, to work in the organization. 2018, I become president of the organization and try to take the race to a new level, a better level than it was before. So far, most of the things have succeeded. I am very much engaged with cycling. I do believe more today than I was before, and try to promote it all over the globe. Yesterday, I just came back from Dubai. I hosted a couple of events for the Luxembourgish government on the Expo 2020 in Dubai. Also there, we try to encourage people to use their bike more frequently, either for leisure, sport, performance, or commuting. I do believe that's a role I fit in, not necessarily competing to win the next stage or being first on the next climb, but using cycling as a way of life to continue and grow cycling communities.
Yeah. And by the way, what's your current shape? I ask because how difficult it is to pedal and speak at the same time for you.
And we are right now in a downhill, huh?
Yeah, that's easier.
But if you ask me my current shape on the bike, it's miserable at the moment, because we have a long winter. We had a lot of work. I didn't have a lot of time to ride. The days are short, so I'm not the kind of guy anymore who goes on a hardcore ride in the dark, in the cold. That's in my past. So I'd like to ride my bike. So on the bike, my current shape is good. Nevertheless, I try to do every day, at least 4 or 5 times a week, sports. It doesn't include cycling for now, because the days are still too short. And but having a general fitness over the winter, and now on the days go longer, and I get more people to ride. Of course, my shape on the bike will improve as well. I would say it's really bad. Some people would say it's probably still better than others ever go or ever come, but I don't agree. I need a couple of weeks of training and I'll be fit to ride a proper ride.
And I heard, Andy, that you've got quite heavily into swimming. Are there any plans, for example, for you for triathlon races in the future?
Yeah, I did. No, there's no plans, but I did get into swimming because I do believe it's just a good workout. I do also believe it's one of the most boring sports in the world. You can't talk to anyone. You cannot even listen to music. But there are solutions. Underwater headphones that exist. But I just think if you swim 1 hour, it's a really good workout for your fitness, and it keeps you healthy. So I started that as a compromise to riding the bike. I did between 6 and 8 kilometers a week in a pool near here. And it became a challenge to become better, to become faster, to go longer. When COVID hit, I stopped going to the pool because it was simply not allowed. Then you had to reserve your line a week in advance. That was too complicated, so I never really started again going swimming. I switched into fitness, and that's what I'm doing now. My perspective might change over time, and maybe in a couple of months, I try something else. The only thing I regret is with my knee, who is still quite badly injured. Running is not an option. I would like to go one day and try a triathlon and try to do my best there. but my knee doesn't support that. So I just stick to leisure sports. I believe cycling will be always a part of it because I simply love it. And but the sports which I do on site might be swimming, might be fitness, can or will change over time.
Yeah, it's interesting that the most cyclists I know, they usually say, "I hate running. It's just not compatible with cycling." You know, running. It's completely different movement.
Yeah. Usually a lot of runners, when they come to a certain age, they turn into cycling and they love it. I never heard that the cyclist turned into a runner and that he loved it. So goes without saying, cycling is a sport everybody can do. From the age of 3 to the age of whatever, how old you want to get. I know people here in Luxembourg, they are above 90 and they ride their bike. So there's no limit because it's if you don't consider crashing, it's a very easy sport on your body. You sit there, you don't harm your knees or anything. It's really harmful on your joints. At the same time, you build up your muscles around the joints without destroying them. So I think that gives cycling a lot of credit.
Yeah. And for example, as you mentioned, we can name, for example, Michael Woods, who is a former Canadian national record holder on 1,500 meters running as a track and field athlete, and now he's one of the top world cyclists. So I'll give you a little bit breather. We'll be back after the short commercial break.
Is okay, everything?
Perfect. Yeah.
Jejich cesta začala jako každá jiná. Stačilo však jediné odbočení a vše dostalo rychlý spád. Nabrali nečekaný směr a obyčejnou jízdu změnili na dobrodružství plné vzrušujících okamžiků. Nezapomenutelný příběh, na který budou vzpomínat všichni. Nová Škoda Karoq. Vaše cesta k příběhům. Vůz, který byl stvořen pro vás a vaši rodinu. Nová plně elektrická Škoda Enyaq iV. Nová plně elektrická Škoda Enyaq Coupé RS iV.
So we'll come back to live coverage of L'Etape Czech Republic group ride with 2010 Tour de France winner Andy Schleck. So we are approaching last 10 kilometers of today's route, which start close to the western outskirts of Czech capital Prague, and we are getting closer to the east borders of regional and nature park Křivoklátsko, which is one of the most beautiful parts of center Czech Republic, or in the border with Western Bohemia, and it's a quite heavily and densely forested area with a lot of short but steep hills and also some of technical essence. This is the part of the first half of L'Etape Czech Republic, second edition, which will be raced on June 11th. And Andy Schleck will be there with us, and he will be riding part of the long and also short route. So Andy, we were already talking about your connection with the company Škoda. We Love Cycling. This is a project of Škoda company, and you have a project called Early Birds, which is during the Tour de France. Can you tell us something about that? Is it for VIP guests that you riding with them, or what is it about?
Yes, the early bird ride. So as it says, early bird, it's very early in the morning, and you got to be fresh like a bird. So we get up around 5:30, 6 o'clock, depends on the day, depends on the schedule. My role is then to take the VIP guests on a bike ride in the early morning before they start their VIP experience. At least it's, again, not about speed. It's about getting them on a race bike as the riders using the Tour de France, and just letting them know, okay, this is the bike. You can see how it corners, you can feel how you can climb with it. And the goal is basically just to give them a good taste of what they will, or what awaits them in the day. Yeah. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's an hour and a half, and sometimes it's even only 45 minutes.
Andy, I've got some questions from our fans, so thank them for them. One of them is quite, simple question. What's your brother Frank's doing nowadays?
Yeah, my brother Frank, he's actually hosting an event, the Gran Fondo as well, in Luxembourg, where there's sometimes, I would say, between 3,500, 4,500 people. It's called the Schleck Gran Fondo. Basically, what we did, we choose our training routes and combine them and do a Gran Fondo out of them. This is also part of the UCI Gran Fondo series, so you can qualify to go to Italy to the Gran Fondo World Championship. Another position he took on is head of the coaches for the Luxembourgish national team since 6 months now. So that's his daily job. On the side, he does the Schleck Gran Fondo, and as well as the scouting and parkour of the organization for the Tour of Luxembourg, which is held in September.
Yeah, and the second question is concerning nowadays Luxembourgian cycling. You have Bob Jungels, you have Kevin Genitz, you have Alex Kirsch, you have Christian Meyers. The question is, what do you think about the strength of actual generation of Luxembourgian cyclists?
I do think a lot of people underestimate the size of our country and the number of professional athletes we have in cycling. And if you go back to the times when I was on the podium, my brother was there, Kim Kirchen, and we were winning the stages, and even the Tour de France myself. This was very extraordinary and exceptional for a country with 600,000 citizens. Considering that of the 600,000, half of the population are non-Luxembourger. They are just Luxembourgish residents. So getting out of this 300,000 people, still high quality riders, is of course a challenge. But I do believe the past and the present shows as well that we still have so many professional athletes that the level is still really high and really good. Still way above any other sports, which is held internationally. Bob Jungels is having a kind of a hard time after his operation and injury from last year. I strongly believe that there's still a lot of potential. He needs to find out now how he will unleash that potential, that talent. Genitz is only in the beginning of his career, so I do believe still a bright future ahead of him. And then we have Alex Kirsch, you just mentioned it. He's one of the road captains in the big races, in the classics. Flanders for the Czech TdF team. So I'm seeing a bright future for cycling in Luxembourg.
Yeah, it really sounds strange that the whole population of your country is only half of population of our capital city, Prague. So we are talking about really small nation that is capable to race really top level athletes. That's great. So we are getting closer to the finish, which will be close to the Lani, which is a small town westwards from our capital, Prague. Another question is from another of our fans, Andy, and we were already talking about Roman Kreuziger, who jumped right from the professional career into the team car to the position of sport director. Did you ever have same idea to be a sport director in one of the World Tour team?
Yeah, not really. I do believe when I stopped, I was kind of fed up of traveling so much, and I don't know how to explain. I do believe I can read races very well, and I do believe I can guide the team through a stage as a sport director. Nevertheless, it never really occurred to me. I would like to be involved in a team, but I do believe in a different position than a sport director. But I also think that as of today, I have a very high knowledge about cycling in general. If I just recap a little bit my life until now, I know how it is as a teenager to train. I know how hard it is to get into the national team. I know how it is as an under 23 and as a neo pro. I know how tough it is to win, cope with the pressure. And since I stopped and took on other roles, I also know what it takes to organize a race. So I have all different views, 360 degrees around cycling, which makes my knowledge about cycling in general complete. So I do think having experienced all the different aspects as a rider, as an organizer, as a fan standing on the side of the road, it's something rare because not everybody have the chance to experience all these different sides of the sport. I do have a place in professional cycling. For now, nothing really have occurred to me, but I never say never. I watch every race really closely, and I mentioned it before, I'm more involved in cycling today than I ever was as a pro rider. But we see what the future will bring.
Okay.
Benoit.
So we are on a group ride with our guest today, with 2010 Tour de France winner Andy Schleck, and we are getting closer to the finish of the race. Yeah, and it was almost 29 kilometers long, with a total elevation of 362 meters. So Andy, before we finish, there are still a few questions. So if you have time to answer 2-3 questions more from our fans.
I'm here for you guys.
Yeah, is it possible? So thank you very much. One of the questions is, what's your most vivid memory of Olympics in Beijing in 2008, where you came quite close to the podium?
I never really had regrets towards my career. In Beijing, I do have big regrets because for me, always being an athlete, you got to compete on the Olympic Games one day. I had the chance, and I had the chance to be in a really good shape. I prepared straight through the Tour de France for the Olympic Games, and ended up being one of the strongest of the peloton. My gambling issues that day in the race cost my medal. I should just have go the last 5-6 kilometers, but come on. And then it would have been at least a bronze medal, but my head and my stability and my youngness at the time told me different. Said if you have the chance to go for gold, you go for gold. I gambled, ended up with the fourth place, and yeah, that's about it. I was still up there, but being fourth on the Olympic Games is probably the shittiest place you can end up. And if I would turn the time back, I would just go the 5 less kilometers, and I would have ended up at least with the bronze medal. It doesn't give me sleepless nights. Nevertheless, I'm still regretting that decision that day.
Yeah, that was interesting that back then you fought for the medal with your teammates, Fabian Cancellara and Alexander Kolobnev, if I remember well. You were all in the CSC team back then. But yeah, unfortunately, they were not very loyal towards their team. They were loyal towards their country that day, and that's how it is. I would have done the same if you are in a position, and it was for them the same than it was for me. They were in a position that they could go for gold or bronze or silver medal. They went for it. So no hard feelings at all. At the time, you know, you do 100 races or 120 races a year with your teammates. You do 2, so which is the World Championship and the Olympic Games. Then you have 2 for your country. Then you are there and you represent the colors of your nations and not the colors of your team. Yeah. So before we finish, let me allow one last personal question, because the first Tour de France that I was commentating was in 2011, and you were quite close to win this Tour too, because you started the last TT in Grenoble in a yellow jersey. Do you still remember your feelings before the time trial and after that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have the yellow jersey, you kind of believe that you are unbeatable. It takes you to another level mentally, but the level is fake, of course. If you have the yellow jersey, you believe you can't crash, you believe you can, no one can drop you, and you believe you can win everything. That day, if I looked at the paper, I knew that it's going to be a very, very hard mission to keep yellow from Cadel Evans in the TT. I didn't do a bad TT, I didn't do a great TT, but I had very hard days the 2 days before. So I won Galibier 2 days before, where I did 70 kilometers on my own. I did a very good time trial that day. Then the day after, I went in the long break with Contador in the beginning, took yellow on top of Alpe d'Huez, and there was a time trial to come. So on paper, I knew it's going to be difficult, but if you go into a race and you kind of doubt that you can make it, you're already lost on the start line. That's why I went in with good confidence. I love the parkour, I love my bike, I love my yellow jersey, and I fought to the end. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. At the same time, I was crying with one eye and smiling with the other one, because I was crying because I lost yellow jersey in the Tour, and I was smiling because I was standing on the podium with my brother in Paris, which was unique as well. But the emotions before the start is, I mean, the nervousness is so high, it's not even describable. You are scared and excited at the same time, and then if you are in the race, you just want to go this 1% more, this 1 kilometer per hour faster, this 1% deeper into your pain, and try to make it to the finish. Then you are finished. I gotta have to say here, I am a little bit behind. I'm trying to fight my way back up. I do need to keep it a little bit calm, otherwise I can't talk to you guys anymore. Because somehow I lost a little bit connection there. I am back on, and I'm just for your info, I am at kilometer 19.9, so kilometer 20.
Ah, I thought that you were further on the road.
I was further, but I lost a little bit the connection here, and I'm finding my way back up.
So probably the really final question from one of our viewers, and it will take us to nowadays cycling, because he said that for him the best rivalry he ever witnessed was you against El Pistolero, Alberto Contador, and he asks, do you see any kind of big rivalry in nowadays cycling? For example, Roglic versus Pogačar. Is there any big rivalry in nowadays cycling?
It's hard for me to judge, because if I say the wrong thing, people take me for an arrogant prick. I personally do believe that this rivalry Alberto and we had, I never really saw it after that anymore. But I could be mistaken, because I think we really fighted it out like two lions on the road. We didn't care about the watts, we didn't care about the recovery, we didn't care about each other. There was no thinking, there was no tactic. We went in the climb and we fought it out like real men, with no kilometer, no speed, and no watt centers on our bike. I think that was the beauty of these days. It was man versus man, it was not man versus coach, or man versus his watts. It was him and me in the fight, in the ring.
But I guess probably you could like style of Tadej Pogačar, because you mentioned your long range attack on Galibier, and he's also not afraid to attack long time before the finish.
I don't compare myself to Tadej. I would not dare to compare myself to Tadej. He's a way bigger talent than I ever was. He got way more of a complete rider. I do frankly believe that he's the best rider I ever seen and ever been out there. So complete. So I don't compare myself at all to Tadej. It would be not fair versus him. But in general, if I see today's cycling, the level went up quite rapidly. I don't think that the first ones are not stronger or faster than we were in. I mean, it's not that long ago. But I do believe that the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth one are a lot stronger than they were a couple of years ago. So that means that the density of the high profile A-plus riders is a lot closer than it used to be 10 years ago. And Tadej is not a 1+ rider. Tadej is a A++ rider.
Yeah. So we can expect him this year that he will equal your record and of Jan Ullrich, 3 white jerseys in a row onto the France.
Well, definitely. I mean, there's no doubt that he is going to win the Tour again and again. On the other hand, you have to be careful. This is not playing chess. This is not playing cards, bowling, or darts. This is cycling. Every day we face danger. Every week we kind of have to risk every day our lives because we train on open road. We don't train in a stadium. We face daily traffic every day, and we're not going slow in training either than in racing. So a lot can happen. Injuries may occur. We've seen it with Egan Bernal. In 1/10 of a second, he was from Tour de France champion, almost an invalid person. Luckily, surgery, everything went good, so he's back in health. I would not say in good health. And I think that's what he should focus on to find back to life. And if that's achieved, he should try to find back to professional cycling. But saying that, we've seen it in the past. There's a lot of traps, a lot of dangers on the road, and also Tadej needs to face that. So saying that he will win the next 5 Tour de France's it's way too far. I would say take it step by step. Definitely the physique he got, but cycling is a different sport than any others because there's so many danger zones we have to go through every day, crashing, injuries, mental issues as well. I can tell you it's not easy to live out of your suitcase, to eat eggs for breakfast, rice for lunch, and pasta for dinner, not going out with friends, not seeing anyone. This is also mentally, you have to be made for that, or you have to learn that. So if you combine and you are top over a period of years, I would say, and then going to the Tour de France as a leader like today, have to go, it's also not easy because you're facing a lot of mental stress, pressure from people, pressure from sponsors, pressure from the media. And I can tell you, no one takes that on the light shoulders. It is stress for everyone, and doing that year after year. I would say you can compare it if you send someone to a war, a soldier, and always you send it to the front line, and always you have to fight in the front line with all the stress, the danger, and you can't maintain that for 10 years. You might crack at some point. And doing a Tour de France in a position as a leader, at least this is what I experienced. It looks great on the TV and in the interviews you can smile, but deep inside it is tough again.
So, and in general, what do you think about the route that you're testing today?
It looks like my backyard. If I wouldn't know, I would say you did this video in Luxembourg. So I'm looking forward. Again, the sun is out on the video. I hope that on June 11th, for the second edition of L'Etape Czech Republic, the sun will be as bright than today. Then it will be a great success. And even in the rain, we will make it through. And if someone doubts, you should follow my will and we make it together.
Yeah, and I'm also hoping that as many as possible of you that join us today for this group ride will be also in Prague, because you can take part in this race, and it doesn't matter from which country you came, so you able to get to this race and experience a little bit of Tour de France flavor, because it's organized by SO, by the organization that is over the whole Tour de France organization. So this will be your second chance to really experience this event for the second time running. So Andy, we were already talking about probably the best rider nowadays in the world of cycling. What do you think about this plan to debut this Sunday on the Ronde, which I guess wasn't one of your favorite races?
Oh, the favorite race is not necessarily the one you won.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite races was Liège-Bastogne-Liège. I won it, but the Ronde I never even attend at the start line. People used to say, coaches, I'm not the type of rider for the Ronde, so I let it go. If I would go back in time, I would tell them differently, because I would like to do it. Nevertheless, I think it's one of the most exciting races to watch. For me, there are three big ones. It's the Ronde, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and then Paris-Roubaix. This, I think, are the most iconic races out there. All very hard. I also believe the three hardest races out there. I predict for Sunday a team, Jumbo-Visma, extremely strong. But it's the Ronde. Everything can happen. I still think that the Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, you should not forget, he's a little in the shade. He doesn't show off. He'll be ready definitely on Sunday, and he came. He'll be ready on Sunday, so I would predict a fight between Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert. Sorry, I was searching the name. These are, of course, on the paper the big favorite, but then again, what I'm telling you everybody is telling you, everybody talks about these two. They won't have help from any side. They are on their own, only their teammates. So as soon as some of them go, the whole peloton will chase them. As soon as one of them is dropped, the whole peloton will pull in front that they not come back. This is the big problems they will face on Sunday. Teams have to be smart. We've seen it last week with Rimet. They were both an outsider, a kind of an outsider one, not a surprise for me, but a surprise for many. And this can happen on Sunday on the Ronde as well.
Yeah, it's a very unpredictable race. So we will see on Sunday how it plays out. So today's we are on the L'Etape Czech Republic group ride with Andy Schleck, 2010 Tour de France winner. So how many kilometers still left for you, Andy?
Well, I do think I'm at kilometer 23.5 as we're going into the final. I think this is the hill you mentioned. Oh, not yet. It will come.
Yeah,
it will come. So I will already train for it, that I can attack there on June 11 at the real Etape. Definitely looking forward for it. But I got something like 5-ish Ks left. And then I'm not first, unfortunately. I got cut off and fell back, but I'm now here with a nice group, riding to the forests and fields of Czech countryside.
Okay, so we can have a final commercial break and we'll be back for the final kilometers of today's group ride with Andy Schleck.
Jejich cesta začala jako každá jiná. Stačilo však jediné odbočení a vše dostalo rychlý spád. Nabrali nečekaný směr a obyčejnou jízdu změnili na dobrodružství plné vzrušujících okamžiků. Nezapomenutelný příběh, na který budou vzpomínat všichni. Nová Škoda Karoq. Vaše cesta k příběhům. Vůz, který byl stvořen pro vás a vaši rodinu. Nová plně elektrická Škoda Enyaq iV. Nová plně elektrická Škoda Enyaq Coupé RS iV.
So we are back for the L'Etape Czech Republic group ride with 2010 Tour de France winner Andy Schleck. We are for the final kilometers of the route that was long, almost 29 kilometers with total elevation of 362 meters. We started between a small town of Unhoš, which is westwards from the Czech capital Prague, and we will be finishing in Lany, 447 meters above sea level. In the final 3 kilometers, there is the steepest part of the whole route with 9% gradients segments, and this is the part of the first half of the second edition of L'Etape Czech Republic, which will take place on June 11th on Saturday. So it's still 73 days to go, and you still have a chance to sign up for this race and experience whether it will be the long route of 137 kilometers or the shorter one, and you will have the possibility, if you'll be lucky enough, to meet Andy Schleck right on the road, because he will be riding parts of the both distances on June 11th. So we are at about 8 weeks apart from this second edition of L'Etape Czech Republic. So Andy, good luck to the last 100 meters and to last kilometers, which are not easy, because there is that steepest part of the whole route with 9% gradients. So I hope you will also enjoy the last kilometers of this route.
Yes, I'm facing a climb now here. Beautiful in the forest. It shows out 8.9 degrees on gradient. So try to pace myself. I think it's a kind of short, but definitely steep here. I can feel it. You can hear it on my breathing. Try to keep it at 2.1, 2 point something watts per kilo. Moving very slow at 6.4, 6.5. Okay, now I would sprint a little bit now in real life, but I want to keep my breath for the following question, so I just keep it at this pace.
Okay,
and make my way to the top.
Probably it could remind you some of the hills from your favorite one-day race, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, that Andy won in 2009. So we are getting closer to the finish of this group ride with 2010 Tour de France winner Andy Schleck, who will be there also on June 11 in Prague for the second edition of L'Etape Czech Republic, which is a mass event. And you can also join us not only today for this group ride, but also take part in that second edition of L'Etape Czech Republic. And we are 73 days away from this great cycling festival, which will take place in Prague and also in the western parts around the Prague. And we will be getting closer to the regional nature park of Křivoklátsko, which is really beautiful part of Czech Republic, densely forested area westwards from our golden capital, Prague. So today there was more than 250 cycling enthusiasts that join us for this group ride with one of the biggest stars of cycling in the first and second decade of 21st century. I can also remind you that there are still places to sign up for the real L'Etape Czech Republic, the second edition. And last year there were almost 2,000 riders, and we hope for better weather this year, because last year there were not only problems with COVID pandemia, but also with weather, which was quite cold at the end of the August in the second term that have to be postponed from the original June date. So hopefully this year everything will be okay, the weather will be all right, and you will be attracted to join us for the second edition of this race. So today's group ride was almost 29 kilometers long with total elevation of 362 meters. There were some technical descents, some short steep climbs, and we are already getting closer to the finish in Lány, which is westwards from Czech capital of Prague. So Andy, I hope everything is okay, and you're getting really closer to the finish of today's group ride.
Yes, we just had quite a steep climb there, went up 9%. Over the top, my whole group who's with me here, obviously back lâché, lost from the first ones, trying to enjoy the last kilometers here. We went a little bit quicker over the climb. I would suggest for the last kilometers, stay together, still going a little bit uphill there, then downhill, and we should be there. Beautiful again, a bit of traffic here, passing us on our left side. Luckily it's virtual. I can see that we have people from all over the world riding here around me. We even like swapping in the front to get a little bit windshield drafting behind each other. And yeah, two more Ks and we are done. We made it this time.
That's great. So we are getting closer to the finish. 28.8 kilometers group ride with Andy Schleck today as a part of promotion of second edition of L'Etape Czech Republic. which is even that is organized in different countries worldwide, and it's a mass event, so everybody can sign up and join us for this event, which will take place on June 11 in Prague and around our capital. So probably we have still time for some last questions from our fans that we received during this group ride. One of the questions is if, Andy, you ever revive some of your top moments on this application like ROUVY, because there is possibility, for example, to go uphill on Tourmalet, to go uphill on Obisque, on Galibier. Is it something that attracts you, that virtually you can race on the hills that you know very well from your career?
No, I don't do that. I'm not living in the past. I'm living present today, and these races are in the past. Now, besides that, I mean, I don't think that I would have joy. I know these plans still like my backyard. I know every corner on Mont Ventoux, Tourmalet, or Galibier. I will do them with my real bike live. I haven't done anything virtual yet because I just don't see a challenge for myself in it. I like to ride my bike. I like to work out virtually to get fit. And I think it's really amazing what you can do today with virtual rides, like a group social ride like today. It's quite cool that everybody can do that from home. Definitely better than watching TV and doing nothing, and this is entertainment, and yeah, I love it.
And have you already studied the itinerary for this year Tour de France, because it will start for the first time in Denmark, which is one of the, Copenhagen is one of the capital of cycling, world cycling.
Yeah, who would have imagined 20 years ago that the Tour de France can start in Copenhagen? But here we are. 2022, a little bit less than 100 days from the start of the tour. The preparations are done in Copenhagen. It will be, I predict, the biggest cycling festival ever held. Copenhagen is ready, Denmark is ready to host the tour. I was there a couple of weeks ago, saw the preparations, saw that they painted entire towns with yellow, other towns in green. In Denmark is a cycling culture which is unique and well deserved to have the 3 first stages and the Grand Départ of the biggest cycling event in the year.
And will you be following the whole tour? Will you be there in Copenhagen and throughout the whole 3 weeks with Skoda We Love Cycling project?
Yes, I'll be there as I did the last couple of years, following the tour closely. I know the route already more or less. It's going to be a beautiful start. Very nervous and intense for the riders. Again, we don't know today. We are on open roads. We don't know, is it going to be 28 degrees and sunshine, no wind? Or is it going to be 8 degrees, rain, and wind from the side? And this is factors we have to wait to the day itself. Then it can be either a very nice start for the riders. For the public, it will be either way a nice start and a nice tour. But for the riders, it can be either terrible and you can lose everything on the first day, or it can be a wonderful start into these 3 weeks. We have to see and wait. After that, we cross borders. We go to France. We'll held a little bit in the north before we hit the Alps and then the Pyrenees, and with a big final in Paris. Of course, I'll be present on will be present on every stage. I have a close look on Pogačar and Roglic and all the other tour favorites, what they will do.
And there will be also pavé sectors that you experience in 2010 Tour de France.
Yes, so I just crossed the finish line here.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I made it. No, of course, Tour de France will be the cobblestones, which is going to be tough but exciting at the same time as a spectators. But I can tell you, the 186 riders riding the couples they won't enjoy it as much as you do on the TV or on the roadside. But it's on one way entertainment. That's what riders ride for. And yeah, let's hope that everybody makes it through these stages with no broken bones and no broken bikes. And that I hope that a stage like the cobblestones won't affect the overall classement. This is my personal opinion, because I do believe that the Tour de France is about time trialing, climbing, and not about bad luck or good luck on the cobblestone sections in the Tour.
Okay, Andy, thank you very much. It was a real pleasure for me to talk with you during your group ride, and I really think that you would be a great commentator of cycling.
Okay, well, I have to work a little bit on my Czech accent then, but I can say ahoy and a few words. Okay. But hey, if you need me one day, you give me a call and we can talk about it.
Okay, no problem. Sure, I will go give you a call. So thank you very much, and we'll see each other on June 11 in Prague for the second edition of L'Etape Czech Republic. Thank you very much for your time. It was lovely. Don't forget that I sacrificed my birthday on June 10th. Yeah. Because I really want to be part of it. So I said to my family, I said, we have to celebrate my birthday before or after, but I want to be in Czech Republic to host this beautiful event. Yeah. Thank you very much, and bye-bye. Thank you. Yeah, bye.
Jejich cesta začala jako každá jiná. Stačilo však jediné odbočení a vše dostalo rychlý spád. Nabrali nečekaný směr a obyčejnou jízdu změnili na dobrodružství plné vzrušujících okamžiků. Nezapomenutelný příběh, na který budou vzpomínat všichni. Nová Škoda Karoq. Vaše cesta k příběhům. Nová plně elektrická Škoda Enyaq Coupé RS iV.